Welcome back to the XandOsports Show. This is your host, Ricky Stanley. This is episode 5, and let's get to the latest news. Latest news, Deshaun Watson has met with his new coach, and he is not budging on his stance. He has elected to tell him face to face, I will not be back. I will not play for this organization. He made it very plain and clear. That is not a good sign for the Texans. However, they could play hardball. That means he would not be there for OTAs. He would not be there for any of the workouts. The hard part is they are already cutting guys that they had last year, so they're making room for a rebuild. However, will they play hardball and make Watson play? I think that they could find him. Also, they could play hardball and get half that money back with those fines adding up and taking the incentive pay. It's very bad for the Texas organization. You guys really never had nothing because you started in 2000-ish. So you finally get your franchise quarterback. You didn't listen to him. Now he's pissed because you didn't hire who he wanted to. So now you're gonna play hardball. If they draft another quarterback, it will be good. However, if they do not and play hardball with this kid, it could get ugly. Could get ugly. They may try to block it so that he cannot play for anybody else, which will not be good for football. Everybody want to see a top 5 quarterback play. Nobody wants to see him on the bench or in the headlines for anything else. Not me. This could get very tricky with the incentive pay, also with his contract, and he's only in his second year of that $156 million extension. So, Deshaun Watson, if you come back, I feel like you didn't lose anything. Some people are like, oh, he came back crawling. No, you showed them you meant business, and you showed them that you will sit out. So I think they would take in consideration if you came back and just separated the business from the personal. I know this is personal. They didn't listen to you, and you was like, you know what? I'm gonna show them, and I'm gonna hit them where it hurts. But nobody's losing but the fans. But I'm pretty sure some people are like, who cares about the fans? I do, because I'm a fan. Not a fan of the Texans, but I'm a fan of that guy. Let's see what else we got. Oh, if he takes care of business and plays like he did last year but get more wins, I think he's auditioning for another team later on down the road. He has, 4 more years on that deal. He's around, I think, 26, 27. I could be wrong. That means that'll make him 31 or 32 out of his contract. So if he does that, he's still young enough to play for another franchise once he hits the free agency. Just do not sign any more extensions if you're not for sure with him. Because you signed this extension knowing good and well that they traded your number 1 receiver. Then they got rid of your coach. You elected to re-sign with them for $156 million. I know you wanted to seal the bag, but my friend, you were good enough. If you went into the free agency, somebody would have gave you that money. Trust me. Somebody would have gave it to you. Teams out here overpaying for quarterbacks all the time. Look at my Eagles. It's a good segue because let's go to the NFC East. Dak Prescott has not signed a long-term deal yet. He has not. So what does that mean? I think Dak Prescott will be franchise tagged one more time. What does that mean for the Cowboys ownership? I think they will need to draft a quarterback. And who does that help? My Philadelphia Eagles. I think you guys should take your number 10 pick, trade up to at least 6, and try to get your guy that's going to be in that top 10 range. I think one of those quarterbacks could fall. I know Trevor Lawrence will not, but one of those other 2 could fall depending on how this Deshaun Watson thing goes. Deshaun Watson does go to one of those teams that are in the top 5 picks. They will not take a quarterback, and one of those quarterbacks could slide. It's all in theory, people. But Dak Prescott, I personally think the Cowboys will need to draft a quarterback, and I hope that they trade with Philly because we need one of those 2 receivers. We got Jalen Hurts. I feel like Jalen Hurts could be pretty good with a few more weapons. However, we need so many weapons. Good Lord. We need offensive line depth. We need defensive line depth. And don't even get me started on our secondary. Whew. That's atrocious. But let's get back to Dak. Dak should want to get tagged because when he hits that free market, somebody is going to pay him a whole lot of money. They're going to break the bank. And the tag and the price is only going to go up if they tag him again this year. If you have another good season and show them that you are a franchise quarterback, you don't have to be theirs, but you will be someone's. Speaking of a good season, let's talk about Russell Wilson. He met everywhere in the headlines this week for a trade. Are you kidding me? A trade? We're talking about the guy that made the playoffs all 10 seasons he's played. 10 seasons he made the playoffs. 1 year they were supposed to be in rebuild. They made it 9-7 and still made the playoffs. In a tough conference. If Russell Wilson is traded, it is strictly asinine. From what I was reading and I was hearing, you can put in the comments below if I'm wrong. I only heard he wanted to be protected more. Want to get a better offensive line. Stop being cheap. Invest in this offensive line. And that will only prolong his career. He will be a franchise quarterback that much longer for you. And that is a position that you will not have to draft for again. Drew Brees has played 20 seasons with two franchises, but 20 seasons. Tom Brady has played 20 seasons. What helped them there? An offensive line. You can't tell me one receiver for Tom Brady that he played with the Patriots outside of Gronk that's going to the Hall of Fame. Brandon Moss is already in there, so scratch him. None of those guys, you can't tell me. Not off the top of your head. You got to go Google it. Do Drew Brees wide receivers? I don't think Marcus Colston is going to make it. If he does, it's going to be way down the line. You can't tell me anybody that was on Drew Brees' roster as a wide receiver that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. They threw to a bunch of guys that were just okay. But what helped them? A good offensive line. It's common sense. But Pete Carroll, I like you as a coach. Stop being cheap. Stop taking tight ends and moving them to tackles. That's just stupid. That didn't work out. Let's get on and move on with the franchise and move forward. Let's get to the draft. I feel that Trevor will be the number 1 overall pick. There's nothing showing to me that somebody's going to overtake that number 1 pick. I think he'll go to a good team. Urban Meyer will be the coach. I can see them for the next 5 seasons at least getting 10 wins a season. I don't know about a championship, but at least 10 wins. They will be respectable, and he will reboot that franchise to the point that I want to say the last time I remember the Jaguars being dominant before Jalen Ramsey got there was when Fred Taylor was there. And was it Jimmy Smith? Yeah, I think it was Jimmy Smith, wearing number 88, if I'm not mistaken. Those guys played some football. Mark Brunell with that left hand, number 8, he was a bad dude. But they didn't have enough to get it. You know, there's some guys they had to go through. So, let's get back to if Trevor Lawrence does not go number 1. Most people are like, well, how would that happen? Remember Baker Mayfield? They had Baker Mayfield being projected as a 3rd-round pick when he was coming out of his last game. He did some good off-season workouts, did a good combine. I guess okay combine. Pro day was not bad. You know, he's throwing to his guys. All of a sudden, right before the draft, Baker Mayfield's number 1 overall pick. Where did that come from? If you go back, year after that, maybe year or 2 after that, Kyler Murray, baseball player. Remember that guy? Yeah, he was not even projected to be in the 1st round. All of a sudden, once he declined to play baseball, drafted, he's number 1 overall pick. So it could happen, people. It could happen. I don't see them beating out Trevor Lawrence, especially not with those other 2 quarterbacks. But I've seen crazy stuff happen. Just stay tuned. But if we go back about 10, 12, 13 years or so, let's go back to that 2007 draft. Remember Jamarcus Russell? Yeah. He was not even a top 50 prospect. He beat Notre Dame and Brady Quinn in a bowl game. All of a sudden, he's the 1st overall pick. He was atrocious. His feet work was terrible. He could throw it a mile, but he was terrible as a quarterback. for these franchises, if anything, you learn from them. Do not take a quarterback that should not be in the first round. The Browns, I think, with another year with Baker playing well, they can say, hey, this pick panned out. Kyler Murray, I think he's playing pretty well. If he wins his conference, hey, that pick panned out. Jaguars, don't be them. Don't pick a Jamarcus Russell. Go with the definite pick, Trevor Lawrence. If he stays healthy, he can get you a lot of wins. Also, scrolling down my timeline the other day, going through Facebook, and I saw this post, and it said, is Cam Newton a Hall of Famer? In my eyes, what I think the Hall of Fame should be, statistically, what you did on the field, and did you change the game? I don't think it's done enough. I don't think it's done enough to be a Hall of Famer. That's just my personal opinion. However, I'm going to defend Cam Newton this one time on this show and say why he should be. Let's go down this stat line. Cam Newton has 31,698 yards, 190 touchdowns, and 118 interceptions. That's not bad for a touchdown to interception ratio. We all know when his shoulder started hurting, he was starting to check the ball down a little bit more. He got a little bit more conservative. He didn't throw as many picks. 31,000 rush yards, a little low for me, but the other part he makes up is with his rushing. He had 5,398 rushing touchdowns. Whew, a lot of rushing touchdowns. There's a couple guys in the NFL that played and finished their career without 5,398 yards, more or less 70 rushing touchdowns. So overall, he has around 37,000 total yards and 167 touchdowns he's responsible for. No matter that last debacle with the Patriots, we just got to act like that didn't happen. But I feel like Cam Newton personally, with his accuracy and his work ethic and not getting better as a passer, that's why I didn't think he should be in the Hall of Fame yet. However, when I read you this right here, you may consider it differently. He throws more touchdowns and yards than Bart Starr. Yeah, that guy is enshrined in the Hall of Fame for the Green Bay Packers. He had a decent career for the 60s and 70s. They didn't throw the ball as much, but still, he's in the Hall of Fame. So we're going off of stats, and did he change the game? He has thrown more yards and touchdowns than Roger the Dodger for the Cowboys. And if I'm mistaken, about 1985, Roger the Dodger was enshrined in the Hall of Fame. I could be off, but I think it's around that time. He statistically is only 2,000 yards behind, ready for this one, Steve Young. Remember him? Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. And he did throw the ball. So we can't say that, he played in a different era. Steve Young threw over 4,000 yards a couple times. Yeah. So he is better statistically than Terry Bradshaw for the Steelers. Yeah, that guy's in the Hall of Fame, and he's on Fox. This next person that I'm going to name, I've never been a fan of them, but everybody seemed to love them, and they love to bring his name up when they think of good quarterbacks. I don't get it, but, to each his own. To me, I know it's going to piss some people off, but I don't care. He is statistically better, head and shoulders better than Joe Namath. Yes, people, Joe Namath. Joe Namath is in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how when you read his stat line. Joe Namath had 27,633 yards, 173 touchdowns, wait for it, 220 interceptions. The guy was a walking turnover machine. They could say, he was a gunslinger. He threw it down the field. I don't care. That's terrible. That's terrible. 173 touchdowns and 20 picks. If I'm mistaken, he led the league in interceptions at least 3 times. That's not that great. But, we're talking about all those guys are Hall of Famers. Only person that I would say that I would take over him out of that list is, of course, Steve Young. I'm a little biased when it came to Steve Young. I feel like Steve was a little bit before his time. If it wasn't for concussions, I think he would have played a little bit longer, but I'm a big fan of Steve. But remember, Joe Namath is in the Hall of Fame. Is Cam Newton the best quarterback ever? No. But I would like to think that he should be in the Hall of Fame eventually. I don't think he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm not giving him that. No. But I think he should be in there. And he should at least be in there, the Ring of Honor for Carolina Panthers. He moved that franchise way up there. I feel like they became a contender and a threat if it wasn't for the Seattle Seahawks. They bodied them almost every year. But I feel like Cam did something for that franchise that they hadn't had since Jake Delhomme. And a lot of people had a very bad taste in that off when Jake Delhomme played there, especially in the last couple of years. He was a turnover machine as well. Let's get to other sports. The NBA had some games, good games this weekend. Of course, my Lakers, we got a couple wins, we got a couple losses, but sports. Let's see what we got here. Let's go back a night. Let's check out the scores. The Hornets and Kings are still playing. Right now, the Kings are up 117 to 110. Buddy Hyde has 29 points, 1 rebound, and 6 assists. Not bad, but hopefully the Hornets pull that one out. Let's look at the Clippers and the Bucks. Okay, Clippers lost to the Bucks, 105 to 100. Kawhi Leonard had 25, 9, and 3. Oh, no playoff P tonight. It's a little jokey joke. Paul George been playing well this year. Can't take nothing from you. However, he ain't show up tonight. Giannis had 36, 14, and 5. The Wizards lose a close one to the Celtics, 110 to 111. Bradley Beal allegedly slips and falls out of bounds, and the ref said he steps out. I feel like he was fouled. It looked like it was a foul to me. I could be wrong. However, they lost. Bradley Beal had 46, 7, and 2 with another loss. Jason Tatum had 31, 8, and 3. Every time I read this scoreline, I see the Knicks winning. Oh, no wonder. It's the Pistons. They only won 9 games this year. 109 to 90. Julius Randle, 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Man, I can't believe the Lakers gave that guy away. Jeremy Grant, 21, 8, and 1. Not bad, Detroit, but 9 games. Whew. Who knows getting the #1 overall pick if they win the lottery. All right, the Hawks lose to the Heat. John Collins had 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 assist tonight, even though the Hawks lost. The Grizzlies smokes the Rockets, 133 to 84. Did the Rockets even show up? Jeez, they're missing James Harden out there. The Warriors take a loss to my Lakers, 117 to 91. Steph Curry had a stat line of 16, 4, and 7, and LeBron had 19, 6, and 4. The Suns really put the heat to the Timberwolves, 118 to 99. Devin Booker had 43 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And Karl Anthony Towns had a measly 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 assist. I say measly because he has not showed up as a franchise player to me, and he looks a little soft. It's my personal opinion. Let's get on to NCAA basketball. They had some good games this weekend as well. Let's see what we got. Let's go back a day because there was a couple upsets this weekend. All right, Gonzaga beats Loyola Marymount 86 to 69. That was a nail biter. All right, we got Kansas upsetting Baylor with their first loss of the season, 71 to 58. The Big Blue Michigan 73 to 57 against Indiana. I don't think Big Blue's going to win it all, but they're doing good this year. Illinois 74 to 69 against Wisconsin. I thought they only played basketball in Chicago. Illinois is doing pretty good. The Alabama Crimson Tide beat Mississippi State 64 to 59. Oklahoma State upsets Oklahoma 94 to 90. And North Carolina beats Florida State. Florida State was actually having a good season. North Carolina beat them 78 to 70, and that drops Florida State to 14 and 4. Not bad, Carolina. Looks like Ohio State got smoked tonight by Iowa, 73 to 57. Villanova takes a loss to Butler, 61 to 73. South Florida get smoked by Houston. Whew, 98-52. But not bad for a basketball season. Can't wait for March Madness to come around. It's right around the corner. But one sport that I did check out this weekend was NASCAR. NASCAR is a very unique sport. It takes a lot of thinking and skill. So I was listening to these commentators, and they were saying if a guy has a faster car and he's on a specific track, he would take the high part of the track to get an advantage over everybody, which is statistically and scientifically you wouldn't do that. But I watched this guy do it all weekend. I was like 20 laps in. I'm like, I can't believe this is even statistically and scientifically right. But his car was that much faster, so he had it set to take the higher part of the ramp. I don't know why, but they said if you have a slower car, you have to pick your spots of when to pass, when to draft, and to make your way into the top 10. So it takes a lot of thinking. I'm gonna do some more research on NASCAR, but it was entertainment for the 20 or 40 laps that I did watch. But it's a different sport, learning different things every year, getting into tennis, watching other sports. Be sure to follow us on XandOsports on Instagram, as well as XandOsportsTalk on Twitter, XandOsportsTalk on Facebook. I am your host, Ricky G. Stanley, and I am out of here.